Hey, what is up everybody, Blaze for here, and today for you guys another video, Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be doing something new and doing character reviews for the man, at least Joker here. It's going to be a little bit of a series to help you guys get prepared for all these characters, which I'm going to try and do them in version order, though of course it may be out of whack for global, but this is pretty much just going to be giving you a summary of how the character does work, showing off their animations. Do I recommend their weapons? Do I not recommend their weapons? And then of course anything else of that nature. Now it's going to be kind of different from at least my build guides. Those are still going to be getting made for these characters, so I won't be going fully in depth at least on their gear pieces and things like that. But of course I will be going over like A0 type information and just going over how that does work for the character at base, seeing a lot of you guys might be free to play out there. So if you do like videos like this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out quite a lot. So go ahead and get to it. So the man Joker himself. Now this is a character that a lot of people of course love no matter what. This is the star of P5. And man oh man, did he come into this game actually swinging. At the beginning of at least 1.0, he was really good, and even to this day he's pretty okay-ish here and still gets the job done, seeing that the devs have buffed a lot of the 4 stars and 5 stars here, him being one of them. Now he's had plenty of changes up to these days here, but we're really just going to go over how he works at the base level. Now currently of course I do have him A6, but we're going to go ahead and talk about A0, seeing that is what his base really is. Now this character does excel in a lot of just AoE curse DPS. In fact, he is our only AoE curse DPS. When we go ahead and look at least what his A0 is, it actually has been changed from the beginning a little bit here, but it's actually way better because without a doubt this character does make himself at least a little bit usable. So at A0, at the end of the turn here, he gains 1 stack of fury, and for every enemy that's below 60 HP, he has up to 5 stacks. So every time pretty much an enemy is below that 60% hit, or at least 60% HP, he is getting one of those fury stacks. You can have 5 of these at the end of the day here, and at the end of your turn, if you do have 3 or more of these fury stacks, you're able to get an extra turn. So this is one of the few things that you guys will want to pay attention to with Joker here. He is this AoE DPS that actually does take in the extra turn factor, which was a factor that not many of us saw whatsoever. In 1.0, he is the only character with this. It was only recently that he actually had more units that had this extra turn, such as we have characters like Turbo, or now Anj gives people any type of character extra turns. So this was more at least of a mechanic that wasn't really into the game until just recently. Now, as I did say, he gains these things called fury stacks, which at the end of the day are these little bitty buffs here that you can get actually applied on some of his skills, that whenever of course the enemy is below that 60% HP, you are able to get this fury stack, and it does help you get at least an extra turn after 3. Now during this extra turn, he actually does do more damage as well, so pretty much it's always amazing. And what you want to do with this character is whenever you do have him on the field, try to at least pair him with other characters who actually are able to apply debuffs, as well as characters who are able to really enhance his crit damage, because by doing this you're actually able to easily get a ton of at least work out of him. At the beginning of the game, the only other character that you would be able to at least use a lot of crit damage for if he is A6, which is a 4-star, is Leon. Leon's going to be very helpful for this, and it really will expand on his crit damage capabilities. So at this point in time, really for Joker, you only have to work on at least his crit rate, damage bonus, attack type properties really. And it's something that you guys should also see if you go ahead and click this as well, where you're going to end up checking out this, and it's going to tell you exactly kind of what you need to strive for. Now my Joker isn't great. The only thing that's really carrying him is the fact that he is A6. Other than that, my at least what's it called stats are very horrible for this character, but you do have him pretty much optimized. He can hit pretty darn hard. So of course, as always, that's already nice to actually see, but let's see about at least his weapon. Is it worth it or not to get this? Now for the weapon wise, there are 2 sides of this coin here, especially when it comes down to Joker. Let's say if it is 1.0, right? 1.0 wise, I would say this character is really worth getting his weapon for it, right? Pretty darn nice, it's pretty cool. If anything, for all your 5-star DPSs especially, you always want their 5-star weapons to some degree. Joker's one of the few that I do say, of course, you can kind of live without the 5-star weapon. It's all right. It's not really too insane. It does help him at least with the fury stacks that he's able to have and increasing his curse damage overall. But the main thing that's inside of this as well is going to be that attack percentage. Now, if you're using the 4-star weapon, which I don't have it increased here, but if you end up using the 4-star weapon being more of a free-to-play type of side coin here, it's actually not all too bad here, because every time, of course, when you're attacking an enemy with a debuff, which you will always have a person who can permanently debuff the enemy here, you're always giving yourself some additional percentages, which starts off at 19.1% increased attack here, all the way to 36.2%. If you're consistently keeping a debuff on the enemy, you're already going to have, of course, that 24% just from increased by getting this weapon maxed out, but also an extra 36.2% attack automatically, which is actually higher than the current attack on the 5-star weapon. As you can see, at least having a 0, it's only at 30%. Yeah, sure, you do get an extra 10% for curse damage itself, and then of course some extra little buffing on at least getting your fury stacks. You do get some extra damage there, but either way, you're going to be doing extra damage with your fury state here, right? So we can kind of think this bottom part is a little obsolete, but not really. You can kind of cross that on out, right? So all we're really looking at is just the 10% for curse damage and then the 30% for attack. Well, as I did say, get the weapon, release the 4-star weapon maxed out, 24% attack increase there, and then of course by having this debuff on there, you will eventually get a 36%, well 36.2% debuff increase, or at least attack increase off of debuffs. So either way, I would rather say for a lot of you guys, especially seeing if you're trying to do this properly and at least smart, try to avoid getting that 5-star weapon if you can. Use your currency on other characters that might be worth it. Though if you're like me and just really like Joker, and or either just wanted the character at the beginning of the game, go ahead and go for the 5-star weapon. It's actually pretty decent. It does help him out a decent bit here. It's not like game changing, but it does make him really, I want to say really decent. So I mean, like, if you guys really want to have that, be sure to go ahead and get it. Now, we already went over at least his weapons. We went over at least his regular awarenesses here. What else can we really go over? And that is going to be his skills. Now, his skills are pretty interesting as well. There's only going to be a few that you're going to be using quite often here, and that's only really going to be his like skill 3 and his skill 1. If you're asking me, the skill 2 is going to be kind of a wild card. You don't use it too often. You're usually using always the skill 3 and skill 1. The main reason for this is because with the skill 3 in play, you're always getting that on at least your extra turn type damage, which is Doom Pursue. This actually gives you more damage during extra turn by 25%, which is absolutely amazing. And of course, due to the debuffs, you're getting an extra 25% of damage as well. So that's always going to be something you want to kind of like expand on. And then the number 1 skill called Fearless Rebel is going to be the one that a lot of you guys are going to start off with. You usually want to use this immediately, try to get a couple crits on this, which of course, if you get some crits, you also inflict at least a curse stack, which is a debuff, so keep that in mind. You also inflict curse, you're gaining yourself fury. If you do get them below that 60%, get your furies really quickly, of course, and that allows you to go into your extra turn to really expand upon on Doom Pursue. This is something that's really helpful for this character, so just using the 1-3-1-3 method is really nice. And of course, if you do have the highlight, which is highlight as well, is pretty darn decent, deals about 205, not 230, because of course I do have dupes on them, but deals about 205 at level 10 here, burst damage to all enemies, and then you gain a single fury as well. With this in mind, of course, this is actually pretty darn decent for him. He does deal some decent damage off of it. Once again, the rotation for his skills, if you are utilizing this character, is going to be Fearless Rebel, Doom Pursue, Fearless Rebel, Doom Pursue. Once you're inside of what is it called, extra turn, use Doom Pursue again. But normally, if you're not inside your extra turns, you just keep doing Fearless Rebel, Doom Pursue, and repeat that process. Now, he does have, of course, 2 passives here, being at least Revenge, which increases the attack by 18%, which, if I'm right, that should be a little bit lower, if I remember correctly here, because I could have swore it was 6%, but I think maybe they buffed his passive. That's what it was. But like, he has 18% now. If they did not buff the passive, then it should be a 6%, but I'm pretty sure this is from the buff that makes him even more usable. And then for Devour here, we have, at least during the extra turn, Joker does at least 20%, was the original, if I'm correct, because this one says 72%, but I'm pretty positive this is just because I have a couple different characters, but truly do keep that in mind as well. But as I did say, pretty interesting character, pretty nice character here. Weapon is not mandatory for this unit, at least in my opinion. So I feel like a lot of you guys who really wanted to actually see if you had to use this character, did you need the weapon or not? I don't really think you have to. Now, before we go ahead and wrap up the video here, I just want to tell you guys, or at least show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. It's going to be something I'm going to do for all of these here. Now, don't pay attention to the damage numbers. Don't pay attention to that type of stuff because, of course, it is A6. I'm going to be doing some things that won't be normal, right? It's going to be some things that you won't probably do here. Now, to make this more of a balanced type deal, I'm just going to throw Joker in the team alone. And let's just find a regular weapon here, right? We're going to find a regular weapon and then a persona that's something like this here, because everyone's going to get Alice down the line. So we're not going to be using anything out of the ordinary. So one persona, just a weapon here, being the one that you get from Palace 2 or Palace 3, I think it was, and then Joker. Now, the only thing that's going to be different is, of course, this character is A6, so damage numbers are going to be kind of weird and a little different than what you are used to, but don't worry about it too much, because I'm just mainly showing off at least how the skills do look. So, for example, the second skill, which you're rarely going to be using, this skill called Ominous Omen, looks something like this, and that is with the newer animation here, because they did change the animations for, like, I want to say recently, so it does look a little different from how it did in the game, which had like these little gloomy trees around, some red mist, and then a sight came out of nowhere. Pretty dang cool, but of course they changed it a little bit as well, so I mean, not too bad. And then of course we're going to go with the first skill, and as I did say, there are these Fury stacks, which is this bottom little icon right there. Looks somewhat like this. I currently only have one, but if you go ahead and do this, I got two. Since we did actually go ahead and we have our dupes, of course we're able to get those extra turns a little quicker for ourselves. But as you see, once we had 3, it'll put us into our extra turn mode. At this point in time, we go again. And at this point in time, you don't want to use any of these skills. You kind of want to only use your skill 3 because you deal a lot more damage off of it and just keep on moving from there. Pretty darn decent at that point in time. You can go ahead and at least get that again. That's always nice. For example, if you also have Wonder with Alice as well, using Die For Me is pretty darn decent. If the enemies are at half health, it will kill unless it is like an SOS boss. But of course, this is considered a debuff. We also do get a damage buff for this as well. So if we go ahead and use our skill 1, like we are going to do again here, or actually, I can just go ahead and pop off the ult here, get us another Fury stack. Pretty darn cool ult, if you ask me. And then of course, since we did get our Fury stack, we were able to go into extra turn, but do keep in mind, that little follow-up thing is not normal for Joker. That is A6 related, so he doesn't normally do that. Usually you would be able to take your turn, of course, get your Fury stacks and keep on moving. But that's all I really wanted to go ahead and showcase for the man Joker. As a character review, I say he's still an amazing character. Of course, times of where he is now compared to beginning of the game, he has of course been a little outdated, but as long as the devs continue bringing curse related just enemies, which they do quite often, he's not going anywhere. This character is still in the meta. If you guys care about that to some degree, he's still in the meta. He still has his place because we do not have another AoE curse DPS just yet. But that's all I need to say about the man Joker himself. If you guys enjoyed the video, please do smash that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. If you want more videos like this, let me know down below in the comment section, because I'm unsure like how I liked it. Did you guys like this format? Was it decent, or was it a better way to understand the character? Was it a little confusing? Just let me know, because I want to try and optimize this as best as possible to make sure you guys get at least a character review of every single character and then a build guide of every single character. Until then, everybody, thank you for watching. Peace out.